You are live. Did it work? Good morning, y'all. Good morning, Pat. Let's see. All right. People are pouring in. We're already off to a better start than we were a couple months ago, Brittany, when we did one of these webinars.
Yes, we are.
We got a lot of people signed up for this one, too. I tell you, I guess the old saying, death and taxes, gets people interest. Hey, Claudia. Hey, bro, I love it. Brittany's going to be communicating with you. Hey, y'all, we'll just give it like literally 1 minute, and then I'll get right to it. Of course, if something comes up while I'm doing the presentation, we're going to record it, and we're going to send it out to everyone. It does need to go through compliance. If we send it, if I say something dumb off the cuff right now, I'm in the clear. But if we repurpose it and send it off, it needs to go through compliance, so it takes about a day. So good morning, Chris and Nina. All right. So anyways, if you get called away, just know that you'll probably get a recording here in short order, but it might take a day or two to find you. Hey, Laura, Doretta, Debbie. Good to see you guys, or at least see your names come across my screen. All right, let's do this. I'm going to get right into it. Start the presentation. We're going to start this sucker up. All right. We can do your taxes. That's what got y'all to come here today. And I got to be honest, this has been a project that has been on my heart and mind, and something I've been working on for, I was talking to Claire the other night, like 4 or 5 years to see this thing through fruition, to come up with what I'm about to unpack with you. So something I'm really proud of. I think it's a pivotal moment in our company's trajectory, because it's kind of a mic drop. It really puts us in an area that not a lot of financial service companies are able to provide, especially financial service companies for the millionaires next door, middle-class millionaires, the mass affluent, the people that we like to help. So it's really, really cool. Drink up this slide. It's our compliance slide, and read every word of it to keep me in the good graces with all the lawyers and such out there. All righty. Okay, so this is my take on who, what, when, where, why. Our agenda today is going to be why, who, what, how. Without further ado, prior to starting our firm, I worked at a hedge fund, and you needed to have $20 million to invest with the firm. And not many people had 21. Most of the clients of this particular firm had hundreds of millions of dollars. And prior to working there, I said to myself, boy, what are these really wealthy people doing with their money? Do they have access to investment instruments that people like my mom and dad, middle-class people who pedaled uphill, who clipped coupons, who did everything in life right, like they paid their mortgages off, they put 10% of their money into their 401k. Do these ultra wealthy people have access to investments and trust instruments and levels of sophistication that people like my mom and my dad don't have access to? And the biggest takeaway I had working at that firm was, when high net worth people, ultra rich people, go to get their financial advice, they don't suffer what I'll sometimes call the 3 blind mice setup that most people in middle America have to suffer. Meaning, when they sat down at the conference room table, they had a financial planner, they had a tax attorney, they had estate planning attorneys, they had tax preparers, all sitting at that table, and all with one objective, a unified front to help that person grow their money, pass it to their heirs in the most tax-efficient way, avoiding immediate taxes, avoiding future tax liabilities, iron sharpening iron, the accountant talking with the financial advisor about the best investment strategies for that family. My biggest takeaway was the ultra-wealthy people of this world have what's called a family office. And I've long held the belief that everyone deserves a family office, because another thing that I bore witness to at that firm was a lot of those people who had hundreds of millions of dollars, they were in what I call the fortunate sperm baby club. They were born on third base and they thought they hit a triple. All the while, I watched my own mother put clown makeup on. I watched my dad bust his knuckles, pedal uphill, work his tail off to acquire a little bit of wealth. And then when he went to seek financial guidance, he would go to the financial advisor. The financial advisor didn't know who the accountant was. The accountant didn't know who the estate planning attorney was. He had like two financial guys. He had one that was behind a 1-800 number. He had one at the bank. If he asked the financial person for advice on his taxes, they would go, oh, go talk to a tax preparer. And then what I get to see now that I am a financial planner, we pride ourselves on doing robust tax planning. We've invested a ton of money and time and energy on tax software and pouring into ourselves and studying tax code and doing our CFP coursework. And I would come up with these wonderful tax strategies, and then I would share them with a tax preparer, and then the tax preparer wouldn't return my email or wouldn't return my call or wouldn't implement the strategy that I basically cooked up for them. And all they had to do is just put the numbers in the boxes properly, and they wouldn't do it. So I've long held this belief that all Main Street investors, all investors deserve a family office. A family office is where you walk into one building and you get your financial planning needs met, your retirement planning needs met, your estate planning needs met, your tax planning and preparation needs met, all under one roof. You walk into one building and you get cared for on all of those different financial fronts. Now, we unpacked the estate planning piece, about a year ago. And some people still don't know that we have the ability to put together medical powers of attorney, financial powers of attorney, living wills and trusts for individuals free of charge. And we've done, probably 200-300 of these estate planning visits and prepared these documents for people. So if you're out there and you weren't aware that we can provide this service, here's another news flash. But on today's show, I feel like I'm on the radio. On today's webinar, I'm going to talk about the tax planning component. Okay. The tax preparation business is broken. It's broken. And that has nothing to do with the people in the tax preparation business, because there are some of the most trustworthy, competent, capable people who choose to prepare tax returns. But what happens is they hang their shingle, and if they're any good at what they do, there's literally a tidal wave of people who want them to do their tax preparation work. So almost instantaneously, with like in the first 2 or 3 years of them hanging their shingle, they become overworked. The other problem is we had 3 tax preparer referral partners. This was about a year and a half ago or so. One of them retired. 2 of them said, we're not taking on any more business. Their average age was probably like 62 or 63. The average age of a financial advisor in this country is about 57. I got to believe the average age of a tax preparer in this country is even older. Young people are not electing to go into the tax preparation business. If you talk to any accountant, any CPA, and Lord knows I've talked to dozens and dozens of them as I've tried to create this family office that I'm here to talk about. They said, my number one challenge is I can't find young people. I can't find the next generation of tax preparers, because a tax preparer is going to work 12 to 14 hours for 3 months out of the year. And then you get to wear shorts for the other 9. But young people don't want to work 12 to 14 hours. They want work-life balance, right? They want to have meetings with foosball tables and beanbag chairs, with all due respect to all the young people out there. But these people, these practitioners, these people who do this work, they're aging out and they're retiring and they're not taking on new business. The next thing that drives me nuts about the tax preparation business is ego. So I just said, we've done some pretty robust advanced planning for people. We've put together these awesome tax plans, and then we'll email the tax preparer with the client CC'd, and we'll say, hey, we just took a look at their 2023 tax return. What do you think about doing a spousal IRA contribution? We talked to Tom and Linda about doing a donor advised fund contribution. Or do you think it would be prudent to do a $25,000 Roth rollout conversion? And we'll like attach the tax software analysis that we've done. And sometimes we'll get greeted, more often than not, we get just greeted with crickets. They just don't reply. So then I pick up the phone and I call them. And usually I just get a voicemail, and I'll leave a voicemail, and I still don't get a response. When we approach these tax preparers, it's not our objective to dunk on them or illustrate that they've been letting their client down. It's in the spirit of collaboration. It's in the spirit of like, hey, I do need your blessing. You're the person who's going to sign the return. I just have software that I can geek out with them. Do you think this is a prudent idea? This isn't what's in your best interest. One other thing, most of the people watching this right now, most of the people we work with have fairly simple tax returns. They get a 1099 from their brokerage company. They might have some capital gains and capital losses. They take a little money from their IRA. Maybe they have a rental property. They take some money from Social Security, so they got to make sure they account for that. Maybe you're lucky enough to have a pension. You have a very straightforward, simplistic tax return. Tax preparers don't even want you as a client. They want the person with 10 Airbnbs. They want the person with the small business so they can do bookkeeping and payroll, so they get a residual chunk of money that hits their mailbox each and every month. So a lot of tax preparers don't want to work with retirees, which is another frustration for me because we're laser focused on helping retirees. Changes in the tax code, of course, everyone's got their eye on Trump's tax reform, which is due to sunset here in a couple of years. A lot of people think it's just going to revert back to the way the tax code was prior to Trump's tax reform. And of course, that would mean the standardized deduction would drop. That would mean you would have to itemize more things. SALT taxes might come back into play. So, it's going to entail more bookkeeping, quite frankly, if that's the direction we go. Who knows? We'll know a lot more on that in about, can you believe it, 20 days? We'll know a heck of a lot more about that. Which direction the election goes will be very telling on what might happen with tax code. But more recently, look at the Secure Act, right? The Secure Act changed the RMD age. It changed the terms of a multi-generational IRA. It used to be 120 years. Now it's 10 years. And when did they pass that? They passed it on New Year's Eve at 9 p.m. They changed tax code on these people the day before the end of the year. And then guess what y'all do? With all due respect, I do it too. Y'all go, I don't want to file an extension. You get my taxes done, and you get them done before April 15th. And here are the accountants going, they literally just changed tax code on me in December. And oh, by the way, your brokerage company, your bank, they're taking longer and longer to issue 1099s. 1099s aren't coming out until like March. And sometimes if you get a K1, sometimes you don't get your K1 until after filing deadline. So the financial institutions are taking longer and longer to give out the information. The government is changing the rules on the final hour before the new year. And you've got these small independent shops that don't have big teams of people who are overworked, aging out, underpaid, in my opinion. And then finally, some of them just don't like their job. I've met like 4 accountants who are like, the only reason I work here is because my dad told me that I get a steady income, and, next thing you know. Or they might have loved preparing tax returns, but they've fallen out of love with it because they, see the bullet points above. I hope you get the point, right? There's issues with this business. So I approached a whole bunch of tax preparers, and I've been doing this for years and years and years. And I said, I'm going to make you a deal you can't refuse. How does it sound to do less work, make more money, and be more proud of the tax planning you're doing? And I must have sounded like an encyclopedia salesman or something, because people were like, I don't know, sounds too good to be true. And I had countless conversations with young accountants, old accountants, large CPA firms, single-person shops, talked to tons and tons of different people. And I don't know what took me so long. I don't know what took me so long to pick up the phone and call Lewis. So Lewis Tyson, who many of you know because he actually does the tax prep work for like 40 of our clients or so, I just never reached out to him because I was like, yeah, Lewis has got everything figured out. Everyone who went and worked with Lewis was like, we love Lewis. He's great. He communicates well. He checked every box we want to hear as advisors. Like, when we send someone a referral, we don't expect them to send us like a fruit basket back, but we just want to know at the individual we sent our clients to, we're delivered top-notch service. So we had this working relationship with Lewis, and I don't know why I was so trepidatious about reaching out to him. I just thought he had everything figured out. And I was like, I wouldn't dare approach him with this because he's got this wonderful business. But on a wild hair, I called him up. I said, hey, Lewis, I've been trying to do this, and you already work with a bunch of our clients. How does this sound? And basically I said, what if we're able to take the lion's share of your current workload off of your books, and I pay you a retainer that's tantamount to that workload? This is where less work, more money comes in. But once we pay for that retainer, you are only to work with current financial partner clients. So if individuals do their financial planning with our firm, they now have access to Lewis. And the coolest thing about Lewis, it's like the man in charge and the woman who actually knows what's going on. Lewis works hand in hand with his wife, Taylor. So I got two people for the price of one. Don't tell Lewis that because he might have underpriced himself. But they work very closely together. And I also think I heard their son is about to get his CFP or CFA or CPA, excuse me. Not a lot of sleep last night. So their son is actually going to go in the business as well, too. So maybe I got three people for the price as one, but we'll have to negotiate that at a later point. But we had this wonderful working relationship with Lewis, and I approached him with this. I said, everything I just outlined on the previous slide, he's like, yep. I see it. I feel it. I'm reaching my capacity, and I don't love the business as much as I once did, because if you've ever talked to Lewis, he can talk to you about anything, right? Like, so he's like me. I'll talk about the weather, Clemson football, whatever. But due to the nature of the workload, he's unable to do that. And as an accountant, it's tremendously important to talk about that person's future. Like, what if in your windshield, you see the purchase of a lake house? Well, if you're going to do a lake house, there's some depreciation coming your way in the future. Or you might want to have conversations about the optimal way to finance that. Or you've got kids going off to college, or you're going to retire under the age of 65. So we want to figure out what your magi is for Obamacare. And because these great accountants hang their shingle, they get droves of people knocking down their door, and that workload almost disenables them from being present with the people in front of them because they're looking at their watch. They're looking at the stacks of files in front of them going, I can't even do good planning anymore because I got too many people. I got too many tax returns I need to scrub. So this is what I approached him with. I said, hey, let's get rid of all of your work. Now, some of the people who are getting their taxes done by Lewis probably aren't real happy about that. But truthfully, I'm going to fight for people who work with me, and I'm going to put together incentive structures that lend itself to the prosperity of my clients, Lewis, and the best planning humanly possible. Good, excellent planning is what I'm all about. So that's how the deal came together. Many of you already know Lewis. You're going to know a lot more about him. We're going to do a podcast with him in about a week. We'll probably do some webinars with him, just like we're doing here as tax code changes. And at the end of the presentation, I'll talk about how you can kick his tires and see if what this partnership might mean for you. So what's the benefit of it? I mean, some of you are just like, I'm sold. One place, all that done under one place, easy peasy. Adam, newsflash, we really don't like talking to you all that much. We just like getting our stuff done. So this arm's length away relationship is super duper powerful. Like, you go to Lewis's office and it comes to light that you forgot to bring one of your 1099s. Lewis is going to have access to your 1099s. He's just going to jump online and pull your 1099 from Schwab or reach out to someone in our office and say, hey, we need, for Bob and Sue, we need the 1099 for their IRA. And same goes for all these other things that typically we play communication ping pong with accounting offices. You wouldn't believe how many times an accountant reaches out to me and they don't get me on the phone, and then they send me an email and I send them an email back, and then that email doesn't get replied to. So I say, hey, just bumping this up your inbox. Did you get my email? And then we go back and forth. And then even after all the back and forth, I don't even know if the tax strategy was executed. I don't even know if the message was received. So the fact that he's going to be under our roof, an arm's length away, on our phone tree, under a current email, that level of communication and synchronization of communication, it is super, super duper powerful. No ego. This is one of the biggest things that we talked about with Lewis when we were kind of reaching the terms of this. I said, hey, look, we don't want to have any ego in our planning. So if you don't know something, it's okay to say, I don't know. Or, hey, I think you need to get your help from this group of accountants that specialize in this. And same goes with our advisors, right? So if we recommend a strategy, it's never going to be, Lewis, you do this. It's going to be, what do you think about us doing a Roth conversion? Do you mind modeling that in to the tax software? And he's going to give it the yay or nay, quickly, promptly, with a keen eye on your situation. And because a lot of our clients are in the same season of life, a lot of these situations are going to be similar. Roth conversions, donor advised fund contributions, selecting the right retirement plan chassis. So it's going to be very easy for him to be laser focused on, okay, this is where that particular strategy fits best. So all under one roof, no more three blind mice. No more the accountant who doesn't know the advisor who doesn't know the estate planning attorney who doesn't know the accountant, and every single one of them has an ego and no one wants to talk to each other. No more. Done with that. Synchronized communication, I've already kind of touched on this. And then finally, iron sharpens iron. If any success that I've had in my career, I'd attribute it to I'm in a network of advisors that are some of the best in the country. I've done a bunch of podcasts with these guys, and we get together and in like kind of a share best practice type format. And we're going to do the same thing with Lewis. Lewis is going to be a part of our advisor meeting. Lewis is going to be part of our portfolio management meeting periodically and say, hey guys, I've noticed your dividend driver model is generating this much in dividends. And we're seeing this more and more in non-qualified accounts. We should, move that out of the non-qualified account and push it to the IRA. There's going to be opportunities for us to put our heads together, lay hands on your return and your financial plan and your situation. And that's only going to serve you better. Again, he's not going to be as overworked and overburdened. And that's another thing that I made very clear. I don't want to take him on under our brand only to build the same exact broken machine that I just outlined. So I want him to be available to jump on a call with you and talk through your life, talk through your plan. I want him to be able to sit down before tax season and sink his teeth into your tax return and be present. So we're building this in a way where there's going to be ample margin in his schedule to be present with you. And then finally, great value. I'm going to go through some frequently asked questions that I know is already spinning in your mind. This is not a free service. Okay? Now, none of the income generated will go to me either. So from my vantage point, it's kind of a loss leader. Revenue, it's not even really revenue neutral because I'm losing money and that I'm going to be paying a retainer. But all tax preparation income will be going to Lewis. Now, what I sold Lewis was, you're one of the best I've ever seen. You shouldn't be charging the same price as someone at a kiosk at the end of a Walmart checkout line. You shouldn't be charging the same as someone at H&R Block who took a 4-hour course on how to prepare tax returns. So I think what you'll find, and I'll outline this in a second, it won't be the cheapest. You can get it a lot cheaper if you go to a senior center and work with someone who does them for free, or if you do it on your own with TurboTax, or if you do it at H&R Block perhaps. I don't even know what H&R Block charges these days. But it certainly won't be the most expensive. It's probably a heck of a lot cheaper than what most of you are already paying for your tax preparation work. All right, some frequently asked questions, and then I'm going to open it up for audience questions, and that might turn into a disaster, but I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to trust fall into our large audience today. Do I have to work with your tax preparation term? A lot of our clients are like, I got a guy. I know, like, and trust my person or girl. I don't want to leave them. Absolutely not. We are not adding this service offering to sever relationships with good tax preparers and good CPAs. If you have someone you know, like, and trust, has served you well, has done a good job of communicating, you stay with that person. Quite frankly, there are benefits to continuity in tax preparer, right? Because that tax preparer has your previous several years' returns in their software. It becomes very easy for them to populate your next year return because they're going to say, hey, where's the 1099 from Charles Schwab? Where's the 1099 from XYZ Bank? So you do not have to use our tax preparation service. Now, many of you will want to because of all of the things I just outlined, but you are not required to use the tax preparation service. This is a service that you can elect to use or say, no, thank you, I don't want to use it. Now, this is a big question. Can I only work with your tax preparation team? The answer there is absolutely not, but this time it's in red. This is a service that we will be offering, see the next question, to fully onboarded current financial partners clients. Some of you are going to go, hey, Adam, I listen to you on the radio all the time, and I got a financial guy. I'd just like for you to do my taxes. Or, hey, Adam, I don't have any money, but I want you to do my taxes for me because I like what you say on the radio, or I like what you did on that, or whatever. And unfortunately, peace and love, I'd love to help you, but I'm trying to create an environment of excellence. And if we take every single person from the street and we allow them to use our tax preparation services, the clients who work with us using that same service will receive a diminished level of care. So we're going to be pretty tough on who gets to use Lewis, who gets to use our tax preparation service. So who's eligible? Fully onboarded clients. We have some clients who said, again, I'm going to give you a trial balloon. You seem like a nice guy. I'm going to give you a little trial balloon. But I'm going to keep the lion's share of my wealth with my advisor up in New Jersey. Or I'm going to keep most of my accounts with my advisor, on the other side of town. And truthfully, I'm so coy. I don't really like saying stuff like this out loud, but if I think we're better than them, I'm not going to sit back and pretend I'm not. And if we're providing this service where all these different professionals are laying hands on your financial situation, it might be a time for you to send an email that just simply says, hey, I've decided to take a more hands-on approach with my money. Thank you for everything you've done for me. So for individuals who've just given us a small portion of their investments, we might say, hey, why is this IRA sitting over here with this person? And it might be uncomfortable for a second. But we're at a point now where we believe what we're doing is different. We think it's better. And if we think it's better, it would be in your best interest to plug into our service full scale. So if you've just got a little bit of, now there are instances where you have a 401k, obviously you can't move that over. There are instances where you're a self-manager and you want to self-manage some of your wealth. And, there's not a hard and fast rule here. You don't need to turn over the keys to your house in order to work with our tax preparer. But there are instances where hey, I'm using Adam for all of his advice, but I'm using my other, my golfing buddy for the lion's share of my wealth management just because I don't want to have an awkward conversation with them. And, I want to use your tax preparation. And you seem like a nice guy. And you're just, you're being trepidatious about having any sort of confrontation or we're going to kind of shine a light on that and say, hey, I think we deserve to manage the lion's share of your wealth because we're providing this awesome service now. Is it free? I've already kind of unpacked that. No. It's not free. It's not the cheapest, but it's also not the most expensive. I can't give you a list of costs because every single one of your returns is different, right? If all you've got is a Social Security 1099 and an IRA 1099, it's going to be very different if you got 3 rental properties or if you got a small business or something like that. So, and you got to file 2 returns. So I'm not going to put a list of fees up. Truthfully, my conversation to Lewis was, we want you to run your business the way you run your business. We just expect excellence. We expect a high level of communication. We expect our clients to be treated like kings and queens, like the ultra wealthy of the world. And he was like, I'm all for that. Communication is my specialty. And I happen to know what he charges our other clients. Between you and me, I think he's undercharging. But between you and me and hundreds of people, but and it's now lives in the ether. But it's not going to be the cheapest out there. If you're a penny pincher and you're like, hey, Adam, I could do this on my own, go ahead and do it on your own. Hey, Adam, I work with a guy at H&R Block and he cuts me a good deal every year. Keep doing it that way. We don't want to sever good relationships. But I also know what the large tax preparation shops in Charleston and Myrtle Beach and in Hilton Head and Savannah, I know what they charge. And he'll be able to do taxes all throughout the country. We've got clients, last I checked, in like 35 states or something. So he'll be able to do your tax returns all across the country. I'm sure that'll be one of the questions that come up. So I know what they charge, and it'll be far more economical than what some of these other places are charging, my guess. Current financial partners, me, aren't getting a nickel off of this. Okay? We're implementing this. You know, I'm a capitalist pig. We're implementing this because I know if we provide a good or service that's better than the guy down the street, our clients are going to stay with us. We're going to have more people knocking on our door to work with us. We're going to be able to manage more of our clients' wealth. So there's something in it for us, obviously, but none of the income generated from the tax preparation work will be flowing to us. It all stays in Lewis's coffers. And from what I know of Lewis, he deserves it. Can you do my bookkeeping and payroll? Yes, but no. Here again, we are going to be tremendously defensive as to who we let on the bus, who we let in the gates. And if we start allowing every single one of you that runs a small business on the bus, and next thing you know, Lewis is doing bookkeeping for 40 companies and payroll for all these companies, then my retiree clients suffer. So bookkeeping and payroll are some of the most labor-intensive elements of a prototypical tax preparation office. It's also the most profitable. So it's kind of crazy that we're like, no, we don't want that business, right? Because bookkeeping is mailbox money. Running payroll is mailbox money. Accountants get checks every single month. Now, Lewis is capable of doing this. So if you have a small business, he can sink his teeth into your QuickBooks. He can look at your payroll provider and offer best practices, offer advice in order for you to improve. But we are going to be very trepidatious about taking on bookkeeping and payroll. Now, here's the other thing. Because Lewis is a tax preparer, other tax preparers will give him the time of day more than me. When I approach tax preparers, they're like, oh, Adam's looking for referrals, even though I'm like, no, I'm looking for excellent tax planning work. I don't want a referral from you. You're probably not going to give us one anyways. I'm a little bitter there. So he's going to be able to approach these tax preparers and speak Greek with them and say, hey, these are the types of people that this particular tax preparer is going to fit best. So we're going to have a stable of tax preparers that we know to do excellent bookkeeping and we know to do excellent payroll work. Or maybe these individuals are a little bit better at handling complex tax issues or complex returns. Can they review my taxes to see if it's worth making a change? Absolutely. I think what you'll find is he's going to be honest to a flaw. If we review your tax return and it comes to light that you're doing everything right, and you go, I kind of like my tax person, we're going to stay with your tax person. There's no reason to make a change. We would charge this. Your person charges this. So long as you're not pulling your hair out, So long as they're not driving you nuts, stay with your tax person. Our objective in this is not to sever relationships. It's to provide a better service offering for the people who work with our firm. And if you're already getting a wonderful service offering, we couldn't be more happy. So how do you figure out if the change is even worth your while? Well, send us your 1040. Send us your tax return. And Lewis will sink his teeth into it and come up with some strategies or some ideas. And at that point in time, you can say, all right, I'll work with you, or I'm going to keep working with this person. But the largest thing that we hear is people are saying my tax person's retiring, or he doesn't return phone calls, or I go into his office, he doesn't even make eye contact with me because he's so busy, and or he's not getting any younger. So I know a lot of people are just going to say, I want to make this I want to make this move just because I know it is, I see the writing on the wall that it's going to be in my best interest to do such. All right, I'm going to do this. Any questions from the audience? Do we reach out to Lewis or do you make an introduction? Okay, that's a beautiful. I'm going to answer that in 1 second. Changed emails I sent to him. I don't know who that is. Private. Okay, can you tell me his email? I'm gonna outline all communication ways that you could reach out. Lewis is terrific, honest, and does great work. Okay, all right. So Brittany just sent his email, but we actually Lewis is great. Okay. Any questions? Feel free to write them in there. I don't see anything. Okay. What if we're already using Lewis? How will the fees change? A lot of folks are already using Lewis. I think what he's talking about is keeping his fees the same. He might be increasing them for inflation purposes. How large is Lewis's operation? Well, that's one of the reasons I think he's latched on to us, right? Lewis's operation, I believe, is him and his wife, and I think he gets some seasonal support. We'll be able to use our human capital to beef up his operation. And I think now that he's latched onto our firm, which is a little bit more prolific in marketing, I anticipate his firm to really kind of blow up with demand. So we're going to constantly kind of hire and beef up his operation. He's going to be working out of our old Marina Drive office. So Unit 108 at 672 Marina Drive. How large is his operation? We're in need for a tax preparer. Perfect timing. I'm coming in inheritance help. Okay. We could absolutely game that out with you. How would cost compare to using TurboTax for a relatively simple return? Look, you're better off using TurboTax, right? TurboTax is probably going to be cheaper. I mean, because what does TurboTax even cost? I think they try to shake you down for $100 or something right there at the very end for their TurboTax guarantee. I do my Claire's 101-year-old grandmother's tax return every year. And I think last year I was getting it done for free, but last year her income breached some limit. So they charged me $45, right? I wouldn't bring her return to Lewis because it's going to be a lot more expensive. If you have a simple tax return, standard deduction, would it be beneficial to work with Lewis? Well, it depends on the level of tender loving care you want, right? So some individuals, they appreciate walking into a professional's office. They appreciate having a little bit of time to learn about their tax return, ways in which they can lighten the burden of their tax return, forward-looking strategies with their tax return. And some people are, hey, man, I get a pension and a Social Security check. I want to save cost. If cost is your number one issue, we can point you in the right direction. Here again, our objective is not to try to turn every single one of you into tax preparation clients either. If you come in and say, hey, that's too expensive, we can go, well, here's ways you can get a cheaper tax return. You could do it on your own. Does Lewis no, he's going to be able to help clients all across the country. I need to do it soonest. And Carlos knows, okay, some of this is private. Do we need to travel to Charleston or could? That's a great question, Janice. So due to the nature of the workload, we have an advisor in our Bluffton office and in our Myrtle Beach office almost every day of the week. So he is going to be stationary. There could be instances where he makes the journey up to Myrtle Beach, but the nature of tax preparation is you kind of chain yourself to your desk and you just knock them out. But with the modern marvels of Zoom, I mean, heck, you can even go into one of our offices. One of our advisors can set up the Zoom for you if you're one of these people who just is technology adverse. We can set it up so you're sitting there and it feels like he's right there in the room with you. But right now, we kind of went back and forth on that. And I said, is it really worth your time during tax season? Because most people are going to want their returns done without an extension. Why couldn't we at least get a complimentary first look at our last turn? Good way to get future business. Okay. Yeah, of course, you get a complimentary return. All right, I'm going to move on. So yeah, you could travel to Charleston or you can stay put and we could do it virtually. And yes, Tom D, you can get a complimentary analysis. There's no one stopping that from happening. In fact, I would encourage that. And I'd also encourage fee transparency. Hey, this is what we're going to charge. There's no ulterior motive here other than we want to see people get excellent tax preparation work, and we want the people who work with our firm to have a financial planning experience comparable to that of the wealthiest people on the face of the earth. If you're interested, okay, how do I set up an appointment? Here we go. This is how we do it. If you're interested, all you need to do is just make a comment here in the chat. Now, in the chat, it's public, so you might not want to see your name there. So if you'd prefer not to see your name in the chat area, we're going to send this email out. Just email back, hey, I'm interested. Or pick up the phone and call our office. But if you just comment in the chat area, if you reply to an email, I'm interested. If you call our office, here's how this is going down. October 15th was personal return extension deadlines. So what Lewis said is, hey, I want to hit the ground running with you, but I have a bunch of extension return needs that need to be met on October 15th. So I'm not going to start work until November 4th. So technically he's taken a little vacation because he just finished his extension deadline yesterday, and he won't get going with our clients until November 4th. So by you expressing interest, by you sending us an email, commenting like many of you are doing right now, I'm interested, we're going to gather a list of names. And then once Lewis is flying his desk again, he'll be reaching out to you the first and second week of November. Okay. So just know by you saying I'm interested right now, he's not going to call you tomorrow. He's not going to call you till November. Okay. And just be patient. If you have any other questions, call our office up. I'll even happily unpack our vision for it. I hope you kind of get the point. It's not a revenue generator. It's a improvement in our service offering. So, yeah, just keep replying interested or reply to an email, and we will get you on a list and we will reach out. Man, it's so cool to see people reach, with this interested thing, and good to see so many of you on this webinar too. And then finally, I shamelessly make this ask once a year, and I'll just do it again. With the digital world that we live in now, people make decisions on who they're going to get their advice from through online reviews. So, the most popular ones, Amazon, we wrote a book, which quite frankly has a bunch of negative reviews on it because people don't like some of the stuff I wrote in there. Google, Facebook, we wrote a couple different books. If you would if you haven't already, jump on one of these platforms, give us an honest review. It's kind of fun to look through the negative reviews. Most of the negative reviews, the person will very quickly say, I don't work with this company, but I heard what Adam said on the radio and I don't like him. So we want to drown out these voices of individuals who just don't like me because of my worldview or something, or politics. So please take 2 minutes if you would. Give us an honest review on one of these platforms. It means the world to us. And we just want to have as many honest reviews as humanly possible on these things, because it's helpful when people are making their decision on which financial advice givers they're working with. All right. This is a good way to end it. Nicole says we worked with Louis for the first time last week. He was wonderful to work with. And he did a great job on our taxes. We're looking forward to the future. I'm interested. I love it. Y'all, thank you. We'll keep the room open for a second, and y'all can just continue to comment. I'm interested. And if you want to just keep your name in the dark, you could just send a quick email. Thank you all so much. Thank you for your continued trust in your business. And if you have any questions about your portfolio, your plan, the elections got you stressed out, you're looking at the markets every day and you're worried, lean into our office. Your portfolio, your investment allocation was built to sustain volatility. It was built for whatever God or the economy throws at us. And the last thing you should be worrying about is your money. There's a lot of things you should be worrying about, but your money, oddly enough, should be low on that list. Thank you all so much.